We welcome Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the municipal election here in Sylacauga, a week from Tuesday, August 26th. And Bryan, it was a great night for the meeting last night, the candidate forum. A lot of people there, and I know you're excited about that.
It was hard to sleep last night. I thought I was going to have a hard time getting up to be here this morning to see you. But you know what? I wide awake, didn't sleep much last night. I was so jacked up and so excited about
What did you take
crowd.
from that forum last night?
People are concerned. People are up in arms about what's happening in our city, and it was obvious by the crowd, by the attendance, that people are interested and they're engaged in this election. And I pray that that shows up at the polls, and that we're going to have a higher than average turnout for the election.
And had a lot of people who weren't able to make it, but they watched on the different social media platforms. That's good to see too.
And I didn't say it last night, but I do want to thank you and thank Bruce Carr and thank Ken Brewer for putting that event together. It's a fantastic opportunity. I would have loved that we could have maybe, because there were so many of us, have done 2 different nights maybe.
I thought about that as well.
And had a real mayoral debate. I would have loved that. But I thought the night as a whole went very, very well. Candidates were courteous to one another. And the audience put forth some very good questions.
We are a week and some change away from the election, and I know you're excited for it to get here.
Absolutely. It's been a blast, Jimmy, going door to door and meeting so many people. I know there are people that have said, well, you hadn't been by my house. Well, you know, we've got a little over 8,000 registered voters in our city, and I'm doing my best I'm not sending people to doors. I'm doing my best to visit as many doors as I possibly can. 1 day a week, we've got my son and a good friend of mine help me going to door to door on Saturdays. The rest of the time, I'm going by myself and just meeting folks.
You mentioned something last night at the forum that caught a lot of people's attention about knocking on doors. And a person said to you, I can't believe you came and knocked on my door.
Yeah, and that's been said more than once. The bottom line is Jimmy, there's just areas of our city that are just forgotten, that people aren't focused on. They're not thinking about it. And candidates I think some of them think that they're not important. They want to go where the greatest amount of door knocking opportunities are. But you know, I'm interested in the voters. I don't care where they're at. I want to go see them. I want to know what they're dealing with, what issues that they have in the district that they live in, no matter where it may be. And so I've tried to go out and meet with those people that other people aren't meeting with.
Bryan Taunton, candidate for Sylacauga mayoral position in the August 26th municipal election, coming up on just a week and a few days away from now. One of the hot topics last night at the forum was violence in our city and how we address that problem.
Well, Jimmy, let's just go back to 2020 and COVID. Crime was down that year just because people, even criminals, weren't getting out, and folks were isolated from one another because they were afraid. But even before then, crime in our area was trending up, and since then, it's continued to trend up. And in fact, again, as I mentioned last night, according to FBI statistics, since that's what the city wants to use, and we're still in the lowest 10% per capita as the worst city in the United States, or among the worst cities in the United States. And we simply have to do better. I know they say that, well, there was an 11% increase. Well, we don't have our 2024 numbers back yet. Well, maybe there was an 11% increase or decrease, improvement in crime. But if you're in the worst 10% and there was only an 11% decrease, well, that's good, but we're still in the worst 10%. And we persistently see ongoing violent crimes happening in our community, and it's many of it senseless. And we've got to find a way to stifle that. We know that it's going to happen at times, but I think we can reduce that. How do we do that? We've simply got to make sure that our police force is manned properly and we have enough patrol officers in the streets. We've been running, I do know that the police department has hired, I think 3, maybe 4 new officers recently, but we were running, we had 3 or 4 that just retired. So we've just replaced those that have retired with experienced officers, with new officers. But we're still running, I think, even with the new hires, we're probably still 5 to 6 patrolmen short. And we've been running short continuously for many, many years now. We've got to get patrol officers in the neighborhoods that we're having issues in. And I think that it would be a great idea to go back over and open the satellite office that we once had for the police department over there in the Drew Court area.
How would you, if elected mayor on August 26th, what would be your pledge to our police department and the citizens of Sylacauga addressing crime, especially gun crime, gun violence?
Well, again, we've got to make sure that we do what's necessary in order to be able to recruit new officers to our community. We've adjusted our pay structure. We've increased that. We are definitely offering a competitive salary to other communities around us. But I think we've got to look at what and if there is a more significant issue as to why we're having trouble recruiting quality officers into our department, and find out what's going on systematically so that we can change the culture, because that's a lot of what officers are looking at. And Sylacauga, quite frankly, we have I'm sorry, but our police department, maybe it's getting a bad rap, but we've got a bad reputation. That's not saying we don't have a good police department. I think we've got great folks in place, but regardless, we've got to overcome that stigma and find out what we need to do to correct those issues.
Another topic of conversation at the forum last night was the new community center and the pool and that kind of thing. And there were some questions brought up last night. It was a little bit alarming.
It is, and you know, we can talk circles around that for hours and hours. A lot of people said they didn't get the notifications and requests about the location. Well, I know it was absolutely, because I saw them. It was put on posters around town. It was mailed out in utility bills. Some people maybe didn't get them. It was all over social media for an extended period of time. And then the city came back and gave us 7, maybe 8 different locations that this could possibly go. And of course, the initial location that they were discussing definitely wasn't ideal. And then later discussions, those were discussions that I was not a part of. I think that was mostly among City Council and Parks and Rec. Then they decided to go with the location that they have presently settled on. Is that the best location? Would it have been my choice? No. What I wanted to do was to go with where the existing rec was. And I talked to many of the property owners around there, and they were willing to sell their properties. And the site it's level. There would have been minimal amount of site work that could have gone there. And I think we could have built from the rec all the way through that entire section. People are concerned about traffic, and they're worried about, well, those are things that ALDOT's going to have to decide. Right now, I understand they've said that there's not going to be a requirement for a traffic light. Is it a concern for our children crossing 21, the state highway, to get to the new rec? Absolutely. But let's keep one thing in mind. They're still crossing 21 to get to the J. Craig right now. I think there's a bigger issue at stake, in that as we look back and we see the city pool going for so long, not being maintained. We see the deterioration of Early Collins until it finally had to be shut down. I'm going to upset some people, but I'm going to tell you, I think those were there were some strategic things happening there. They wanted those closures to happen to push us toward this new rec center. Regardless, I think the new pool and the rec center is a fantastic idea. We need it. We need some upgrades without question, but I think some of the ways that it was gone about it, it could have been done much differently. Early Collins, I mentioned last night that I'm excited that the Housing Authority has taken it over and that they are working on that, and the rec has agreed to walk beside them in creating some programming there. I did notice in watching the video back last night, or someone else's video that was taken, that there were a couple of city council people that when I mentioned reviving Early Collins, that said, well, that's separatism. You're trying to, I know the old adage, well, that's the black community center, this is the white community center. No, that's not separatism at all, and that's definitely, without question, to suggest that I would support such a thing is outrageous. Here's the thing. We've got kids over there that need programming, they need after school care, they need all these things, and it's right there in their neighborhood. We need to use that resource. I personally believe that we could take the old Mountain View School and use a great portion of it for after school care and for mentoring opportunities with our youth. That's part of our issue today. We need more mentoring programming for our youth. And coming back to the crime issue, I think that's part of it. We need a place where when a child walks outside and they don't have the freedom to play in their own yard because mom's afraid for their safety, we've got to fix that problem. We've got to admit it. First of all, nobody's talking about it. We've got to admit that that is a problem and we need to address it.
Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga municipal election on August the 26th, with us this morning. And someone asked me to pose this question to you about property out on Highway 280 near Home Depot. Is there something working out there? That was a question.
Oh, wow. I think I mentioned this in a previous interview. Yes, we have people, developers that have been interested in that property. A couple of deals fell through. Actually, one developer that came in, it's probably 6 years ago, they came in with a deal that just was not feasible at all for the city. Most recently, back in 2024, I worked with a developer. I'm under an NDA, so I can't call their name, but I worked with a developer that was very interested in developing that property. And unfortunately, after the Haitian deal went down in our city and Sylacauga became famous for all the wrong reasons, they started watching, a couple of the partners there started watching our city council meetings. And then this is after 9 months of hard, intensive work, we had put together what was going to be equivalent to about a $45 million development there that was going to include many name brands. Would have been fantastic for our community. Well, they started watching our city council meetings, and then I received a call about a week after Christmas last year that basically said, Bryan, my partners, I'm sorry, but we've been watching your council meetings, and we simply have no confidence that this council is going to be able to agree on the infrastructure and incentive package for us to go any further in moving forward on this. And they pulled out of the deal.
Let's talk a little bit, Bryan, about management of our monies in the city of Sylacauga.
Well, we obviously have got to start making better decisions. And we've got to think through some things. For everybody's upset about attorney fees and everything else that's been spent on those issues. You look at the most recent case regarding us. I think we spent $250,000 to fight a a lawsuit that had I think total value was $15,000 payout on it. That's all based on personal politics. It should have never happened. We should have simply paid this fireman what he had coming. That was all based on one word that was in the policy there, and we could have very easily just handled that and moved on with business. Other things that have gone on, money that's been spent over the termination of the city clerk.
That's ongoing now.
It's ongoing. It's going to continue. Look, Win Livingston is awesome. He has been a great blessing to our community. I believe he continues to be. But Win is a contract attorney. He's not a litigator. And when we are put in situations where we've got to have a litigator, well, the mayor has to have the capability to hire the best attorney that we have to represent the city. The unfortunate thing is you've got a city council that's not backing the mayor's play and backing him up. Had they backed him up, we wouldn't be in the mess that we're in right now.
If elected mayor, how would you remedy that?
Well, certainly we're going to, hopefully, we're going to get a council that's going to want to work within their legislative powers. They're not going to seek to overreach their authority. They're going to let the mayor do his job, which is the executive administrative leadership of the city, and improve communication. That's going to be one of the biggest things that I'm going to work to do. A lot of people, I get a lot of feedback on the videos that I put out, and I work hard to communicate my platform with our community. That's not going to stop after I'm in office. So if we're effectively communicating with our citizens, then it'll be up to our citizens then to give their council people feedback on what they need to do based on what they're seeing and hearing. So hopefully our constituents will be the ones leading our city. It's been said by some council people that the council is where the power lies. I'm not interested in power. I'm interested in service and making sure the voices of our citizens are heard. And so if we'll focus on that, I think we can end all this conflict.
Bryan Taunton, our guest, Bryan, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga municipal election on August the 26th. Another hot topic, and it has been for a long time, is the flooding issues in our community.
Absolutely. Again, I've pledged that within my first 100 days that I'd put together a flood mitigation task force. That's going to be made up of local citizens. It's going to be made up of officers from our street department. It's going to be made up, of course, professionals. Our Michael Rice, we certainly want to bring his team to the table, and let's bring everybody together and develop a real cohesive plan to attack, because this is a large issue. There's not just a one hat trick solution. We're going to have to figure out what are the most critical areas and put them in. They're all important, but then what's the worst, and then begin to tick down that list and knock those out and solve those issues one by one. Broadway is going to be a different story. We've got to get on the phone with ALDOT. We've got to get on the phone with the governor, whatever we need to do to help bring the crest of that road down, I believe, to mitigate some of that's running up and over the curb. We've also got to make sure that we do run a camera down those sewer drains, and that they are free and clear. And we've got to examine, what other solutions might there be.
Your campaign has been run a little bit differently than some of the other political campaigns that are running as far as the mayoral candidacy is concerned, including you're out about with the people in town hall meetings and that kind of thing. Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, we've got one coming up on August the 23rd at the Sylacauga Rec, same place we had the forum last night, in the gymnasium. We're going to have an open town hall forum. Everybody's invited to come and ask me whatever you want to ask. But that'll be August the 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m., which is also my 40th class reunions that evening from Sylacauga High School. I'm looking forward to that.
Bryan Taunton, our guest, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga City election on August the 26th. As we wind down the campaign, what is a theme that you keep going to with people about your candidacy?
That we're going to focus on one thing, and that's growth. We're going to work to grow industrially so that we can develop the jobs real jobs. I mean, we've done a wonderful job at bringing in commercial interest in our town. But let's be honest, Jimmy Dale, a mother can't raise her family, or a dad can't raise his family, provide for his family on a fast food paycheck. We need real jobs brought into our city. As we bring industry into our community, that's going to drive our housing market. It's going to cause real estate developers to come in and see us as a viable interest to put those new housing developments in. We've got some fantastic areas that are prime and ready for a new housing development. So as we do that, then we've also got to seek to grow geographically and advance our footprint so that we've got the space to put these new industries in.
There's been quite a bit of conversation in the campaign about bringing other people into our city, and the Mill Village has been a topic of conversation, and that's no easy fix, is it?
No, it's not an easy fix, but I'm glad you brought that up. You know, several years ago, the city took on the infrastructure there. Mm-hmm. We took on the roads, utilities, police, fire. We're responsible for all of that over there, but we get nothing out of it. I think we need to research all options and see what we can do about annexing that area so that we can clean it up and kind of bring the house in order. People say, well, what are you going to do with all the people over there? Well, opportunities will open up for them to relocate if necessary. I think it's important that we address the issue. We can't just keep kicking that can down the road. Everybody admits that that area, and there's others also, but that area is a blight on our community. We've got a $60 million investment that's about to go in between the Earth Project and the new rec center right there. Do we really want to continue to allow many of those fire traps that are over there to stand? It's a crime issue, it's a drug issue, it's a feral dog and cat issue that's happening over there. And the only way for us to fix that and remove it as a liability is to bring it into our city. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to cost the city money. So we've got to annex it. What is that process going to look like? Oh, that's going to take more than my feeble brain to figure out. But one, we'll make sure that it's done in such a way that it's equitable for the property owner and it's equitable for the city.
You're not afraid of challenges, are you?
I thrive on it. I love it. The busier I am, the fuller my life is. I remember going back to my fast food days in the KFC business. The best days were the days when you didn't have time to stop and you didn't have time to eat. You were just running and gunning all day. And I love my life when it's like that. I like to be busy. I like to keep moving.
Take a couple of minutes to talk directly to the prospective voters for the August 26th, one of the most important elections we've ever had in our lifetime.
Well, folks, Jimmy Dale said it. It is one of the most important elections that we've had in our city. And I cannot stress enough how critical it is for you to take this election serious and to get out and vote. There are so many folks out there that are so apathetic that you feel like your vote doesn't count. You feel like it doesn't matter how you vote, that nothing's going to change down at City Hall. That is not true. This is your decision. You decide on August 26th what's going to happen in our community. And I'm begging you to make your voice heard and get to the polls. We want to see a record turnout for this election. And I believe that if we get a real turnout, a high turnout for this election, I stand a great possibility to win this election outright without going into a runoff. Now think about that. Think about what a huge statement that's going to make to our city government if I was able to win this election outright without a runoff. So I'm inviting you, I'm begging, I'm pleading for you to get out, get to the polls, and vote for me. Vote Bryan Taunton for mayor on August the 26th.
Before we go today, another topic that was rather hot last night was our animal shelter, and what do we do with it?
I have had many conversations with Stephanie down at the animal shelter, spoken with the folks with the feral dogs who are engaged there. I think
Now this is a serious situation, really.
People they don't know. You need to go visit the animal shelter and see it with your own eyes. We've definitely got to make some changes there. We've got to make some upgrades. We need to streamline, first of all, their system of just being able to get the funding they need to do the things that they need to do. They don't even have screwdrivers and stuff. They have to borrow those things. They can't keep their grass mowed. And this is an ongoing issue. But we've got to do something about our feral dog problem, our feral cat problem. Was mentioned last night was about chipping and so forth. I think that's important, but I think let's come back to let's enforce the ordinances that we have on the books right now. Let's make sure that we institute a leash law and make sure that the shelter, as animal shelter, is properly funded. We need a nuisance and not nuisance and abatement officer, but we need a animal control officer who is out there in the field and is actively working and is able to write tickets and do what's necessary to enforce those regulations. That's been a large part of our problem.
2 minutes to explain your 100-day plan.
To explain my 100-day plan. Wow. I said that I wanted to launch the flood mitigation task force. I want to work to bring unity in City Hall, and to do that, I'm going to move my office downstairs and begin to work with our employees to learn their jobs. I want to experience every job that our city has to offer, so I understand what our city employees are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And then, of course, we certainly want to get in there and take a look at our finances and find out what's really going on. I'm still kind of amazed how our city council called for a forensic audit, and then we never had a forensic audit because for some reason or another it was halted when it was ordered by a vote on city council and then not followed through, but was never brought back to city council for a decision to stop it. I'm very curious as to why that happened. That's one of the things that's now on the new list that I'm going to find out once I'm in office. But we've got a big job ahead of us, and it's important to me that we begin to focus on those things. There's going to be other groups that I'm going to bring together. I think we need to talk to some business leaders, some industry leaders in our community, and find out what their recommendations are in recruiting new industry to our city. That's something we're going to start focusing on immediately. And I'm definitely going to start looking at how we go about annexing the Mill Village.
Bryan Taunton, candidate for mayor in the Sylacauga municipal election on August 26th. Bryan, a pleasure. It's been fun to have you on for several programs, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you very much, Jimmy Dale.
We got more coming up right after this.